The Silent Intelligence.
Hey, I'm here with Daniel Obodovski. He is the founder of The Silent Intelligence and also writer of the book by the same name. I also am doing this interview because we ran into each other and he just told me that he's an ardent user and showed me that he had 5,000 birds.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, Ariel. I really love your product.
Thank you. What compelled you to it?
You know, I was always interested in meditation in general, a way to calm your brain, but also to be aware of the surrounding, become mindful, and become more focused. Because I believe that focus is one of the most important drivers for human performance. And that's why the moment you started talking to your product, even before it came out, I was very interested. I was very looking forward to get a hold of the product. And it didn't disappoint me. As a matter of fact, it basically exceeded my expectation on what I was able to learn through it.
Awesome, because I remember you came by our booth at the first year at CES before we were out, and you came by our booth the next year at CES as we were just about out, constantly like, so when's this thing going to exist? When does it exist?
Right, totally.
What were your experiences from the beginning of using Muse to now? How have you noticed your experience change?
Well, definitely. First of all, Muse gave me this unique opportunity to get a glance inside my own brain, which wasn't possible before, right? And that's what I think is so amazing about Muse, because I could see and get a direct feedback whether I'm being distracted or whether I'm being focused. And as such, by having this direct feedback, I could teach myself to get better. When I started using Muse in September, I could only maybe last a couple of minutes. My attention would immediately wander off, like it happened to all of us. But then I figured out a way, the more often I do it, the more focused I become, the more mindful I become. And it's so funny, I mean, one thing's saying that, the other thing is just seeing the data, and seeing the birds, and seeing the hours, and seeing the improvement. So that's, and it's not linear by any means. It goes up and down, but overall, it keeps going, it keeps getting better and better. So I can see, I've taught myself a few things.
And what have you seen in your life in terms of improvements? What's the transfer?
Well, overall, I think I'm much calmer, especially, running a startup, you know what it's like. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of, somebody called it being a little bit manic depressive. And at times
aptly said, yes.
And actually teaching yourself how to be calm is one of the most important things for an entrepreneur, but not just for entrepreneur and people in general, because we are being constantly bombarded by reminders and messages and calendar invites and Facebook note and whatnot, right? And staying calm and staying focused despite all those distractions, I think that's one of the biggest demand of our times, basically.
Do you have an aha moment, something where you used Muse and then you're like, oh wow, this has actually changed, there's something in my world that has shifted?
Well, so the biggest aha moment was when you really start trusting the data, It's interesting because at first you take it, there's a lot of promise and you start playing around with it. And at first you're not sure if the data you're getting is random versus you really, taught yourself something. And after a while you realize, yes, it's actually the loop, and the more I practice, the better it's getting. I can see that. For that, of course, you need to spend some time. But that was my biggest aha moment when I realized, okay, so this is really happening.
And have other people in your life noticed a difference? Has your wife said anything?
Not yet. Yeah, it's hard to tell because the biggest changes are actually happening inside of you and how you perceive the world around yourself. Maybe some people notice something else, but to me, this is the most important change.
Amazing. So as full disclaimer, this may sound like it's a commercial, but it's not. We ran into each other. We're at a conference here on a panel together at the Internet of Things. He said he was a Muse user. He showed me his 5,000 birds. He then asked to interview me, and so then I said, hey, I'd love to hear about your Muse experiences. It's not set up in any way. These are all just questions I'm asking for the first time.
Well, absolutely. I'm really excited about the future. I'm really excited what you're going to uncover once you go beyond the calmness and mindfulness and meditation and so on. To me, this is really the promise of the device. And to me, this is really what can change the healthcare around mental disorders dramatically. If it can deliver on the promise, I think for people being able to heal themselves versus taking the meds, again, maybe we're shooting too far out, But to me, this is the most exciting opportunity and potential.
And tell me a little bit about silent intelligence. What does that phrase mean to you?
So silent intelligence started when we started looking into the Internet of Things or connected devices world. And what we realized while writing our first book, how much of that actually was happening. A lot of people were complaining, it's just a lot of hype, what's really going on. But then you realized how much data is being collected from moving vehicles, how much sensor data is being used. We don't even realize that the whole world around us is changing. And why is it changing? Because we're getting intelligent data from the analog world around us, from farming, from trees, from animals, from our own bodies. And because of this intelligent data, we can make decisions that are going to change our behavior and change our lives. And that's why we called it the silent intelligence. It may not be obvious, it might not be screaming at you, but it's on the background, it's happening. And another parallel I would draw, it depends on what kind of future you want to live in. Do you want to live in the future of the Minority Report? Or do you want to live in the future of the movie Her, In the Minority Report, if you remember, you're constantly bombarded with all the ads and it's hard to concentrate. Or do you want to live in the world where you almost don't see any technology? It's hidden, it disappears, and yet it's doing its trick. It's just so natural and intuitive that it does what it's supposed to do without distracting us all the time. So to me, that's what silent intelligence is.
So it's a concept I talk about a lot, how technology has the ability to understand and support us. We have to balance that with technology's ability to truly understand us and not impinge on our agency.
Exactly.
And there's this play that we have to be very cautious about at our own agency, our ability to make choice, our ability to know what the devices around us are doing for us, and our ability to allow technology to support us in our everyday interaction.
Exactly right. I don't need to be, my phone doesn't need to buzz reminding me of my next meeting, or that I need to go, and search for my next meeting and know what I'm doing next. If I know it's going to let me know exactly when I need to leave to be at my next meeting on time, considering traffic, considering all other things, right? Or I don't need to be reminded when, or I don't need to be sent like notices of oil change or tire, tires, everything. If my car knows exactly when the oil needs to be changed, when tires needs to be replaced or whatnot, and can send this information for those who know, and only notify me when I really care about those things. So I think that paradigm is about to change, and that's where hopefully our life is going to be a little bit less insane than it is right now.
Well, thank you for intelligence on the silent intelligence.
Thank you, Ariel.
And enjoy your musing.
The Silent Intelligence. Learn more at www.thesilentintelligence.com.